Good morning, or no, good afternoon. It's not morning. Man, losing track here. We're on day like 373 of the coronavirus quarantine. Not really, but it feels like it. Today's just, it's beautiful out, but man, it's cold. I like the warm weather so much better. But anyways, we're going to have fun. I got some fun way we're going to do today's class. We had a request for swans, and so we're going to draw some swans, and we're going to put them in Monet's garden. There's a painting that he has that's like a Japanese bridge, or in a Japanese garden with a bridge. And so I just thought this would be a perfect setting for these swans. And so I told, I don't know if you guys saw, I did say grab a box of crayons. I probably need to update that on the description so people know that I have crayons available. So anyways, so we're going to add another step to our drawing, which is fun. We'll do crayons and then we'll do watercolor last. But anyways, did you guys have a good Easter? It was definitely different. Usually we have 30 or so many people, at least 30, at our house for Easter, and a lot of kids, and so it was much quieter this year. It was different. I will not, I wasn't really disappointed. It was a beautiful morning. That was probably the highlight. It was just I happened to wake up early enough to get out and see the sunrise over the clouds a little bit and through the trees, and the birds were singing. It was so pretty. I put the video on my page, but anyways, it just was not quite the same. I missed having all the family around for Easter, and so it just kind of felt like just another day. And but I know that that's not true. It really is a day that we can celebrate all the time because it's about Jesus coming or being alive, and he's alive in us always. And so anyways, we are here on a Monday. And we're going to get started. So, I got to tell you something. I'll tell you when I get over here, but I want to tell you some fun things that did happen on Easter. I sound like I was complaining. I wasn't really. I was just acknowledging it was different. Okay, let's come down here. Okay, do you want to bring your own crayons? Or do you want to use mine?
I'll use mine.
Okay. You're going to use yours? Okay. So why I'm getting started. So yesterday we had a sweet neighbor. She's probably in her 70s come and show up. And it was after it already started raining, maybe around noon or later. I don't know when it was. Kind of lost track of time. But she came dressed in her Easter bunny costume and brought us a bag of goodies. And it was so sweet that she came. But anyways. It was just, and she had her mask on with her little whiskers on it and everything. So it was really, really sweet. But yeah, it was definitely different. I'm thankful that we have that day to celebrate. So I didn't want it to sound like I wasn't being grateful. Okay. Who is on here? Hey, Lori, welcome.
How are you?
Kinsey, is it Kinsey and JC?
Yep.
Okay, sorry. I have to ask Kaden every time your girls' names. But welcome. I can see you're here. I know you guys are the ones that I think, thank you, Kaden, asked for the swans. Or maybe it was somebody else. I can't remember. Anyway, say hello. My memory's awful sometimes. But say hello if you're on, so I can say hi to you. Even if you're just watching, you don't have to paint, but it's a lot of fun to paint with us. So this is kind of what I drew up for today. And so we're going to go through these steps, and I'm going to show you with the crayons how to add more color to this and some texture in it. So then when we watercolor, it'll just be a kind of a neat thing to do. But so say hello, share this if you know someone else that wants to do this. And we have a full week of drawing. My cat is looking at me through the window. He's not very... Kinsey, we did this one for you. Good idea. Hi, Sheila. The cat's looking in. He's not very happy with me. He's kind of getting limited on his food because he wastes so much food. And he just wants to meow at me all the time instead of finish it up. So anyways, he had to go outside.
I'm actually going to do it by myself.
If you are.
Yeah, because I'm
Okay.
just looking at it.
All right, well, I'm going to, where do you want to have this at so you can look at it?
Just
Okay, I just need to see a little bit just to get the swans on here. Okay, so we're going to do swans. They're very similar to our flamingos that we did. I noticed when we did those, I was thinking, man, these look a lot like swan. So we're going to do, so the thing is, so to have the garden, we want, or the water, the pond with the water lilies. So we're going to put that's casting a shadow on my paper. We're going to put our swans in the bottom half of our picture so we can have our bridge going across, and I'm just kind of going to outline a few things, and then we'll use our crayons to kind of color some of this in. I'll just show we want texture. We want heavy crayons with texture. So we don't have to do too much. You can do this as much as you want. You can go and do this again if you want to and try it other ways. Caden is going to town on this. But anyways, with the swans, so we're going to have one in the bottom right corner and one up a little bit to the left. So everything at the bottom of your paper is closest to you. So you want to make sure that it's just a little bit bigger, because things that are farther up on your paper are farther away. Okay, so we're going to start with our swan right down here in this bottom right corner. So we're going to start with almost like a big number 2. So I have my Sharpie. I don't know if there's anybody on here different. I guess I need to say this in case other people join in that haven't done this before. So we're using Sharpie, and we're using a heavy paper just because Sharpie will bleed through, and plus if you're going to watercolor on it, it makes the paper wet, and if it's just copy paper, it will really tear up that paper. So heavier paper's better. Something designed for wet media is kind of what you want to go for. Cardstock works or whatever. And then today we're doing crayons with us, in which we haven't done that before. Okay, 2 drawings. So we're going to make this big number 2. But the bottom of my 2 is going to be a little different, so don't get too ahead of me. So I'm making my big number 2. And then instead of going straight across like we do when we're making a 2, we're going to go up. And we're just going to go up like that, just a little bit. Okay? All right. I want to come down. I want to sit my finger right under the bottom of that 2. And I want to come down here, and I just want to make a little bit of a line. It doesn't have to be solid or straight. Just a little bit of a line, okay? Do you see how it kind of skipped and messed, and it's kind of thin? I didn't do it very hard. This is where the water is in front of the swan. So we know that that's where the swan's body needs to stop. Okay, so we're going to make this. I was looking at pictures of swans this morning, and so it looks like sometimes they'll push their wings up behind them or up, so they're not like just flat on their body. So that's kind of what I'm doing. So I'm going to come down here just a little ways above my water, down here under my wing, and I'm just going to go and make these feather zigzags going all the way up, and then connecting it right toward at the end of that wing here. All right. Now, before we do anything else, I have that. So I'm going to come back over here to the swan's face. And I want his beak to be pointing down towards the water, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and curve in a little teeny bit on this line. Curve in, and then I'm going to go down. And I'm just going to make the curve end of my beak. And then you can slightly curve, make this a little wider where his head is, just to bring a little bit of a curve there, or her head, or whatever. And then we're going to follow the net all the way around. All the way around, and we're going to curve right down onto this line that we drew where the water is. Now you can kind of shape this beak a little bit if you need to, but I think that's pretty good. Okay, we just need the little tail. So now this is where we just kind of go in the middle of the swing or a little bit lower. You're just gonna kind of, whoops, just bump my paper, dude.
I did.
Yeah, you're gonna, it's okay. You're gonna slope down and you're gonna come in and you're gonna make the tail of your swan. Okay. Now, pictures I saw, their beaks are black. It looked like a lot of them, so you could just color it in with your Sharpie if you wanted to. And then that way we're not painting it. And then you're just gonna do a little bitty dot for an eye. Okay, so there's our first swan. Okay, so we're gonna do one more swan right up here. Now this is where it just needs to be a teeny bit smaller than this one because it's a little bit further back, okay? So I'm gonna make it facing the other way. So now I'm gonna make my two backwards, okay? So that's gonna be, you just have to think about that and think if you can think a little bit smaller. We'll see, not always do I get it right. So I'm gonna make my two. Okay, then so that was the neck, and now I wanna curve up over this way. So it's kind of almost a little sideways, kind of tipping and backwards. So anyways, this is where you just gotta think about how this is gonna work for your picture. Okay, so remember the next thing we do is our water, so we know where to stop. So this one was a finger width for me. So this one I'm gonna slide my finger up just a little bit higher, so it's a little bit less than a finger width. That way I know it's gonna be definitely a little bit smaller than the one below. Okay, so I did my water, same way, just kind of skipped and missed, so it didn't have to be really solid. Okay, so now I'm gonna do the wing, and this one may not be quite up as high as the other one, it's fine. So just do my zigzag, and then I'm gonna come in, and then I'm gonna come up to the head here, and it looks like where I started to begin with almost should probably be where the tip of the beak is, so I shouldn't maybe add a whole lot more. So I'm just gonna make this part of the beak instead of making it even longer. And this is kind of small, so it's a little tricky when you have a Sharpie that's kind of thick, but we can get it. Okay, so there I brought that in front of his neck. What's the matter? Huh? That's awesome, Caden. All right, so now I gotta just do his toe and bring that in. Okay. So there's our two swans. You guys can add more swans if you want to. We'll put the bridge on, and then if you want to add more, you can. I just did that. That way we can, not spend too much time on here, even though I know this is your favorite thing to do all day long, but we're not gonna, you guys know you can go back and make all the pictures. I see Kenzie and JC, you guys do amazing, all your creative ideas with your pictures. So if you guys, I see Deline that joined and Cheryl joined, Christy joined, Joy, Rhonda. If you guys are watching, say hello. Suzanne, Amanda. If you guys are all on here watching, just listening, I know it's like, oh, I didn't know you knew I was on here. I can see it. My comment shows who's watching or who's joined, so you may not even be still on here, but just say hello. And if you got somebody doing art, tell me who's doing it with you. And you guys, when you're done, I love seeing the pictures of the kids or whoever, or Lori does them too. So if you guys are doing them, share your pictures with them. This is one that you grown-ups should like too. All right, so we're gonna do the bridge next. So I'm gonna do a big arch all the way across my paper, okay? It's not a real high slope, but it's just a gradual, something you would actually walk on. Doesn't go real high. Okay, so now I got the top rail, or the bottom rail, and now I'm gonna put, or the bottom of the bridge, and I'm gonna put the top of the rail. Okay, so when I do the railings, so I don't have a bunch of lines in it. This is the way I did it. I did almost like squares in it, or if you can find, they're pretty spaced apart. You want your railings to be, or the supports or whatever, to be upright. So let's see, I'll start on the left side. So if you don't quite touch the line, leave a little space at the top and a little space at the bottom, okay? So see how I left a space? So top and bottom. And then you're gonna do 2 lines. And you're gonna go, these are your upright support. So you're gonna just go across all the way across your bridge. And you're gonna space these out. And then you're gonna connect them. So you're gonna go right off on these. The first 2 go right off the edge of your paper, but these are gonna connect. So now you have these openings for your bridge. Now there's another railing that goes across there. I didn't want to get too complicated in doing this. So the next railing will butt into your upright. So now I'm just gonna put a double line all the way across to have one more railing going through here. So there's your, hi Sarah, welcome. Hi, so I got the railings. Okay, so now we got our swans and so the water's going underneath this bridge, okay? But there's also all these trees. If you look at this painting, if you want to put in, if you're on Pinterest or Google, either one, you can just put in Monet's lily pond with bridge, or it's the Japanese garden, I think. I don't remember the actual name of this. Actually, I forgot. I have the picture saved on here so I can even look at it. Okay, and here's what we're trying to do. Isn't that pretty? That's why... If you guys look at that, the reason I told you guys to bring crayons for this was the texture. He does, I don't know if he does pastels. I love his art, but he's impressionistic. So that means it's a lot of pieces of color, a lot of pieces of shapes that when you look up close, sometimes they don't really make sense. And then when you scoot back, it's all just beautiful. Have you ever been to the Nelson Atkins Museum and seen the water lily painting in there? It's just like I always tell my students or the people that paint with me, you need to go in there and look at it up close and see that paintings are made up of brush strokes and pieces of color, and you don't really know what it makes. It doesn't make sense until you back away and then you see the whole picture together. Because it's a lot of times when they're in my classes, they're sitting there looking at their painting, they're sitting right in front of it and they're frustrated with it, and I'm walking around looking at it from a further distance than they are, and I just think, man, this is just beautiful, you guys. You have no idea how pretty it is. So anyways, that's why we're doing crayons, to just kind of give the texture he has. Okay, so a couple little areas that we're going to, first we'll just do, okay, so again on our perspective, so our lily pads in the water. We have the ones at the bottom of the paper definitely are closer. Do you remember how we did them when we did the frogs? We didn't do a full circle because we didn't want to look right straight down on them. What just happened to my email? Just came up, sorry. So you're making them kind of like an oblong shape. And they have a little ridge or a little indentation in them because that's where, like, they're a leaf, and so that would be where the stem would be connected. So you're just going to put, you can put as many as you want. Make sure they're like going different directions as far as like where the little leaf thing is, because they're all going to be different because it's just a whole pond of lily pads. That one looks like a face mask when you're taking a nap. But anyways, you can just put a bunch of them. As you go move up on your paper, they're going to get a little bit smaller, okay? You can also do some lilies, and I just do zigzags upright and have a curve at the bottom. Kind of like the top of a tulip. You can just, make them spread out however you want. Okay, so now as you get closer, a couple things. Another thing I want you to kind of mark in a little bit on your picture before you get too crazy with your lily pads and stuff is under the swans, they're going to have a reflection in the water. And I just want us to lightly with our pen, kind of squiggly lines, kind of mirror a little bit the shape of your swan. So I'm just little zigzags and I just kind of mirror this shape. It does not have to show any detail, but I know that when I paint it, that's going to be a reflection there. So I might want to use some different colors. This one's almost on the end of my paper at the bottom, so I may not see all the full reflection of it. Okay, so that's just something I want you to just add in there so you can see. It doesn't mean there can't be lily pads there, but you just want to know that that's going to have maybe some lighter colors because our swans are going to be white. Does that make sense? I'm giving you guys a really deep lesson today, aren't I? The art teacher's coming out of me today. Okay, so now back here, I want my lily pads to be a little bit smaller than these. Okay. And you don't always have to put indentations in them, but you can. You guys can just go crazy. I mean, I'm sitting here looking at Monet's picture and he's got, I mean, there's just like lily pads everywhere. Now, as the farther up I go, the smaller they get. And they're just a whole bunch of ovals. Now I'm not even worrying about whether I have these indentations in it because he's what you would call an impressionistic artist. So you may not see everything that your mind tells you that's there. It gives you the impression of. Okay, so I want to stick some flowers in here. So I'm just quickly drawing in some shapes of giving you the impression of lilies in the water here. Okay, now I want to put a little bit of some side stuff so we know that there's some edges to our pond. And we put a couple lilies down in this area here. Like I said, and the crayons we'll use will kind of help fill in some of this space too. Okay, so along here, so there's a bank to the side of the pond. So I'm gonna just take my pen and I'm gonna come from the side and I'm just coming up towards almost the very center of my bridge underneath, okay? So that's showing the bank on this side of the pond. Now the bridge doesn't stop the scenery from you guys seeing what's behind it. So I can just keep going, but I am gonna stop and not make the line go any farther. Now I'm gonna make a couple shrub shapes, okay? His picture is way more detailed, way more texture, but now I'm gonna, from the end where I just came up right through there, I'm going to come back around and I'm gonna make some shrub shapes on the side here. So we know that there's stuff growing all along the side. So I just kind of made this little bump and then I connected to this one and now it's off the paper. Now there's trees back here. We're not going to draw a bunch of trees, but I just know that I want maybe the big shape of a tree. So I just do wiggly lines and I just come down here. If you actually want, you don't see the detail of like a tree trunk or anything in his painting. Okay, on this side, there is a weeping willow tree, which is absolutely a beautiful tree. Now, it's a little tricky to get those little things to hang down. This is where our crayons will work. So I'm going to do real quickly just a little detail, and then I'll show you we're going to switch to crayons after this. So I'm making these long. They make me think of stalactites. I don't know which ones hang down in caves. But anyways, these are the impression of all of my weeping willow branches hanging down. And I'm going down in behind. They're much more beautiful than just what my Sharpie's doing. But when we get our colors in here. So I'm going down behind my bridge. So you can see it all back in there. Goes right down to the water. They can be different lengths. So it's just the impression of. Okay, one other little thing I'm going to add in here is there in the right under the bridge here, there's some of the bank of the pond coming out, and from where I'm looking at, it almost looks like lavender growing there, but it wouldn't be lavender because lavender needs to have a lot of sun. But now I'm just going to do a lot of, it's just some sort of plant or grasses that are long and tall. So I'm just doing a whole bunch of lines coming out here. Okay, all right. Okay, so that's all we're going to draw on this, because the rest of it we're going to do with crayons. Okay, do you guys have crayons that's watching, or that's coloring, that's drawing? JC and Kenzie, you got crayons? You guys, this is my own personal box of crayons. I have to hide my crayons from my kids because, and you can tell I've had that. It's time for a new one. I would hide them because I like, hello, Nadia. Is that how you say your name? I love sharp crayons, and so that's why I'd hide them from my kids, because then they would color them, and I can't stand broken crayons. There's a place for broken crayons, but not when you're trying to do your artwork with them. But there is definitely a place for broken crayons. But I don't like trying to, or flat ends. Like, I just pulled one out. There's a broken crayon with no paper. So, okay, you're ready with crayons. All right. So, I don't know what colors you have, but we're going to start with, pick out, if you just have a 24 pack, whatever greens you have. Pull out your greens, okay? You want any greens, and who gets to name crayons? We have olive green. Do you remember how we make olive green with paints? Olive green is done with yellow and black. Green, yellow, spring green. Those are not very, I don't know. I thought there was a lot more creative names on greens. You want some dark greens too. I'm trying to see here. Is this a green? Yes, this is a, nope. Is it a green? It is a green. Asparagus. Oh, I like that one. Asparagus. That would be a good color. Just think. Okay, so I have 4 greens here. That's probably good. Now I also want some blues. Okay, so I'm going to pull out all my good blues that I can find. I have cerulean blue. I love just saying cerulean blue. Here's cornflower blue. You want a good dark blue too. Let's see. If you don't have a big set box of crayons like me, don't feel like you're gonna miss out. Cadet blue. I need like a navy blue. That must be the broken one that I don't want to use. What's this one? Indigo. There you go. So there's some blues, and then one other. We want white. So if you have white, if not, just a super light color. White's going to be important, and let's do a pink. If you want more than one color of pink, I have magenta. Magenta and salmon. You can do maybe 2 shades or whatever. Here's Tickle Me Pink. Man, I could just go to town. I need to put, but you want a dark pink and a light pink. So whatever. There's a lavender too. Too many colors. This is like me going in an ice cream store. Too much to pick from. Okay, so those are the colors that we want. All right, so we're going to just go up, and you're going to, like on your weeping willow tree. The key is for this to really work well with watercolor is you want to push hard. So don't break the tips of your crayons. So I just want to, and I don't need to color like you normally would for a coloring page, okay? So I'm going to just color in, really pushing down. My table is like wiggling all over the place. Sorry, Caden. That's almost too yellow. Let's get something a little more greenish, but that's okay. If it's a yellow green, it's fine. So even mixture colors, so you can get all the different shades. It doesn't have to be super solid because we do want gaps. The biggest thing is making sure that we push hard, because you want to get that crayon on your paper. Because it's going to work. It's a resist. It's going to resist the watercolor. So the watercolor will push in all around our colors. and fill in all the other spaces that don't have crayon on them. Okay. So see how it's just all different colors? I feel like maybe I need a Kelly green, just a regular standard green for crayons. I feel like I need something brighter. Now it's probably not really what I had in mind, but anyways, it'll work. Okay.
Mom, I'm done.
I love it, Kaden. Good job. You got some good colors going on in it. You could drip different colors. Yeah, that looks good, bud. Okay, so not going to spend too much time there. This little plant, when I look at Monet's picture, is more blues and probably purple colors too. So again, that one looks, cadet blue looks gray, which is okay to have those. But just more colors are better, I think. The more colors you can put in something. No, that's not what I want. I want kind of a purpley blue. There we go. The indigo blue. I don't know what colors you guys have. Okay, so I got that on there. Okay, so now whatever water lilies you have, you can go in and just do different colors of green if you want, or if you don't have a lot of colors, just use what you got. So we're gonna just, and again, you don't have to worry about really being coloring in the lines. That's like so old school. No, sometimes we need to color in lines, but not for this. I'll tell you a story about coloring in the lines. I need to find it where it's at. I have a coloring book that was my sister's. Way back in probably the 60s. Giving you my age here. It was a book about Cinderella. I had to get another green. This one's forest green. There we go. That's what I want. Anyways, a coloring book of Cinderella. But it's before Disney Cinderella was out. So it wasn't Disney. But anyways, and also coloring books, I don't know if there's very many like this, were almost like a storybook. They had stories in them. Okay, I'm going to pause on the story. When you're doing this, the more lily pads that you have in here, the better this is going to be. Now, I didn't draw as many. I kind of like the black outline because it gives the shadow around everything. So if you want to add more than what I have, go for it. You could also, not that blue. I don't like cerulean blue. So if you're using cerulean blue, you can use it, but that's not my favorite. It's not the color I want. I like the indigo blue for this because it's kind of a purpley blue. But you can go through and add more lily pads if you want with just your crayons. Okay, so back to the coloring book. Want some... that one's green yellow's too yellow for me. It doesn't show enough green in it, which there's a place for it, but not for the spring green's a little bit better. I like the light yellow, but I think the green yellow, you might as well just have yellow. Okay, so anyways, on the coloring book, the Cinderella coloring book my sister had, they were like storybooks. So you started at the beginning and each page would talk about, the picture, and it was the story of Cinderella. And she colored, she's 8.5 years older than me. So she colored it, and she's just beautiful way she colors, okay? Everything was so neatly outlined. I don't know what kind of colorer you are, but she just would totally outline everything and then color it in, and her color strokes were just all even and smooth, and you couldn't even tell which direction she was coloring from because it was so perfect and smooth. It's just beautiful. Well, then little sister comes along, and finally she probably outgrown the book and she doesn't really color it anymore, so then I get it. And she'd started at the beginning and colored through each page, but she never finished it. So I don't know if she was even halfway or whatever, but she would just color from one page. Of course, not me. I'm going to pick my favorite. Of course, it's going to be the ones with Cinderella with her gown on and all the first, she might've done this too. I think they all had lipstick with a bread crayon or whatever. I think I might've done that on that one or another book. But anyways, man, I took that book I tried to color like her, but I was not anything like her at all. And so I still have that book somewhere, but I never could color as good as her. What the story was about, I don't know. I lost track of what my point was. On this, we don't have to color real perfect. Okay, so this tree up here. So this is part of what this story is. Not like Cinderella. So you just want to, I'm doing all these little scribble marks all through my tree. You could do little circles. My table is like going to town here. We want texture. And I keep turning my crayon too, because this is where, if you have a nice pointed crayon, it's going to do better for you than if it's really flat. I think you can really push that crayon into your paper. So do your different shades of green in this tree. Always dark shades are good mixed in with light shades, because that shows you shadows and light, which is what makes a painting so pretty and interesting. If you guys have joined and wonder what in the world's going on, I do daily watercolor and drawing classes for anybody that wants to be on here. It could be kids or adults or whatever. So anyways, just welcome. And if you want to say hello, say hello. We're doing swans today, and we're also using crayons, which we don't normally use. But I just want to do a little bit of a texture in this. Okay, so we're not going to do the bridge in crayons. You guys can really have fun with this. You can do as much as you want, but we're just trying to get some of the textures in. And I'm going to go switch direction of my crayons. I'm going to get it on the bridge because I get in a hurry. But anyways, it'll be all right. So I'm just kind of changing my direction. I gotta turn my paper though. Layer in my colors. But anyways, make sure you say hi if you're watching. You guys can share this if you know somebody that has kids at home, or people that maybe just need a break from all the other stuff that we got on our minds. It's good therapy. So anyways, I'm getting all these different colors, just pushing hard. You guys, I'm serious, when we start doing the watercolor, it's not going to really matter too much what all we did. You know, it's getting a good texture on here. Okay, so I'm about... Your lily pads can be different colors too. They don't just have to be all one color. So remember that. And you can keep adding them different places. Okay, remember I said we needed a white crayon, right? This is important. Too, and we have pink. So before we go into anything else, around your swans, remember how we kind of did an outline of the swan body down below? I just want you to make some white scribbles going left and right through there. You don't have to go real heavy. You don't have to do a lot of them. And you can't see it. That's why it's a surprise. This is the fun part. So just do some scribbles in there. You can also add some other places, maybe around your water lilies a little bit. I mean, you don't want to do a lot, but you can go around different places and just put some little white marks in your water. Okay, won't do that too long because you can't even see what I'm doing. Okay, so now I'm going to take my pink. Remember we did 2 colors of pink. You got a light color and a dark color, or if your box of crayons doesn't have all the colors, you could do pink and red. So I started with my lighter color, and I'm coloring my lilies with the light pink, and then I'm going to go towards the bottom part of my flowers, trying to, and get a darker pink in it. Okay. Again, you can add these colors other places if you want. I mean, they don't all have to have lines or the Sharpie outlines or whatever. So you can add in, and I'm just doing the appearance of lilies. I am not trying to make really distinct shapes. It's the appearance of. Okay. Everybody doing okay? Tell me if you guys need a minute before we do watercolor, because that's all. I mean, I could sit here and color with the crayons for a long time, but I just want to show you the next step. So if you're ready for me to show you the next step, just give me some thumbs up emoji or whatever you want to tell me, and we'll go to the next step. But that's all the coloring part that I will do on this. You could just really get this really dense with crayons if you wanted to. So I will just give you a minute to catch up here, and then we're gonna finish this off with watercolor. You ready? Okay, I see some thumbs up. All right, I'm getting some A-OKs. Okay, so we have our watercolor, which mine is my mixing set that I like. Okay, so now we're gonna go through, and I think I'm gonna use my littler brush to start with, because I wanna get my bridge in. Now Monet's bridge is blue, because for his type art, most of his shadows are done in blue, really dark blue or kind of a purpley blue. But I just want, for fun, I'm gonna do my bridge red, because in Japanese gardens, a lot of times the bridges, they paint them red. It's just gonna be a fun pop of color. So I just wanna do mine red. You guys can research, look at Monet's paintings, all you want when we're done. But I'm gonna start, and you can see how beautiful his stuff is. But I'm painting my bridge red, because I think it'd be a beautiful contrast to all the green that's going to be in this picture. And in my mixing colors, it doesn't come with a color red. It comes with a magenta or a red violet and a red orange color. And when I mix those two together, then I get my red. Now, also with watercolor, the important part about getting good, bright colors is make sure you get it, thank you, Lori. Make sure you get your cakes really, really wet by just stirring that water in really, really, really good. And that loosens that up. Crayola makes nice, vibrant watercolors. There's some brands that aren't quite as dark as Crayola. And when you're doing the crayon resist style of painting, it's nice to have nice bright colors. Watercolor always dries lighter when it's dry. If you have a mistake, if you get it with it wet, you can use your paper towel and just blot up a lot of it and just kind of clean it off that way. If you get too much water, you can blot that up. Okay, whoops. I was about ready to say I was done with my bridge, but I'm not. All right, I want to stay away from my bridge a little bit because I want it to dry. I don't want that red to bleed into my other colors. But I didn't get it super wet, so I don't think it's gonna take very long. Let's go to the swans really quick. We'll do those. So swans are white. There's black swans too, but we're gonna do these white. So I want to get my black wet. Okay. I don't need it really, really dark, so I don't need to spend too much time. So what I do is I get my black wet. So my brush obviously has black paint on it. Now I'm gonna wipe off, I'm just kind of on the edge of my paint box here, wiping off some of the excess paint. And I just wanna outline my swan black watercolor. I want to keep it narrow because it's not a very big bird, and you can do you can do your your watercolor right on top of your Sharpie line. But you don't want to get too much if you want your swan to, your brain to tell you that your swan is white. Okay, so I just went right over my Sharpie lines. Now I'm going to clean the black out of my brush. Okay, now I'm going to paint with water. I don't want it too wet because if we get it too wet, it might pull too much of that black. But when I get up against the black now, it's going to let that black bleed into it, into my water, which is going to give them, whoops, I just dripped it right on there. Remember, you can use your paper towel and clean off excess water, not excess water. But I'm letting my edges of my swan be a little bit grayer. Now his neck's probably got too much gray in it, so I'm going to use paper towel. Pick up some of that water so it doesn't get too gray. So there's my swan. Now, when you get all your background, your swan's going to have the appearance of even more and more white because of good contrast. My paper's still white right now, so it makes him look a lot darker. But as I darken up all the stuff around him, it's going to make him or her look like a lot whiter, a lot lighter. Your mind will tell you, oh, that's a white swan better. All right, so I'm doing this one, going right on my Sharpie line with my black watercolor. On all the lines that I drew. Caden wanted to go play with his Legos. And I'm sure for a boy, a swan wasn't the most interesting drawing for him. So that's why he got done and said, okay, I got it, Mom. All right, whoops, my water must have some pink in it. That's okay. We'll have a little pink tint to the swan too. So now I'm getting my swan all wet, letting that gray color come soak into my water so it spreads in. It's got a lot of water on it, so I'm going to dab it up here in just a second. I'm just going to go ahead and do all of it. If your brush gets too much gray on it, you can rinse it out again. All right. Now, I'm going to dab this up. Let's not do the pink area. Okay. There's swan number 2. Now, if you want to do a couple little, like feather lines, keep them thin. See, I paint with the very tip of my brush, not my brother, to keep my lines nice and thin. And since my swan's wet, it spreads my lines out a little bit, but it gives some feathered textures to this. Okay, now we're going to leave that once you get that done. Okay, so now we're going to come up, because I want this to dry for a minute. I'm going to come up here, and I want a really dark, I want greens. See, we could have colored, add crayon all along here. Let me show you in this. We're going to paint inside this tree that we did. So I need to get, let me bring this up here. I'm going to get my yellow out here. Get my yellow all wet. I'm going to add it on my lid because I don't want to get my paint cake all green colored. So I'm swirling, getting that nice thick paint. I'm putting it on my lid here. Okay, I'm going to rinse my brush because I don't want to get that yellow in Well, it won't show up much of my black. I took a little dot of black. Okay, I probably took too much black, but it's a super dark green right now. So now I know, well, okay, let me show you what color. And it does look cool when it's that dark. Because remember, it dries lighter. So this is like a super dark olive green. I'm painting over top of all this tree. Not worried about painting in between anything, going right over top of my crayons, my crayon marks, and it's pushing that dark watercolor. It's best to do darker colors when you're doing this. It's like we're putting the shadows in there because the crayon marks will show as highlights. And then, so it adds that dark in there. And as it dries, you won't see the little petals. But it gives the little bit of the texture that Monet has with his medium. It looks like he does pastel, but I'm not, I'd have to look at that. I know I should know, but I don't recall. Okay, so there's that tree. Very cool looking. Okay, so now I want to get a little bit of a different shade. Maybe more of a blue-green going through the back of this tree. But I do want it to be dark. Again, you just saw why we want dark. Make sure you look up this picture. It's Monet's, it's a Japanese garden or whatever. It's very pretty. So you can kind of see why I was saying the things. Okay, so there's like a Kelly green, but I want this darker, so I'm going to add some purple in it. There we go. So there's another shade of a dark green, kind of the forest green that we did with the crayons. And I feel like it needs to be darker than that. Darker as in thicker. I want more paint, less water. And that's the only thing when you're mixing like that, it's hard to get less water because it feels like you just add more. Okay, so now I'm going to come up here. And I'm painting right through all of this weeping willow tree that has all these branches hanging down. Doing pen and watercolor is a lot of fun if you want to get like more detailed and you want smaller lines. You can use the really ultra fine point sharpie. And it just makes just a really neat. Also, to remember, you guys can add Sharpie lines. Once it's dry, you can go over top of stuff. So there's my weeping willow tree. More color over here on these bushes, these shrubs that we got going on. If your color gets too messed up, you can dab it out while it's wet and it won't really soak into it. So when you leave it in there, if you get the other color in there, the wrong color's in your paint. All right, so I just picked a darker green to go in all of my shrubs. Okay, so those spaces are pretty well painted now. All right, so do you remember? So I'm turning my paper over just because it's easier so I'm not reaching over it and getting my arm in the other stuff. So this is a mixture of all kinds of different trees in here. So remember how we get our paper wet. And I don't want to get it wet too much up against my other stuff. So I'm trying to leave a little bit of a line. I can fill that in later. So right now I'm just going to start with my space above my bridge. And I'm just going to add color in it. We're just going to let it do its thing. So I'm starting with some yellows. Just let these trees kind of turn into what they want to be. There's some yellow. Now I'm going to take some of my blues and I'm just letting these colors just kind of spread out and do their thing. Another thing that would be cool to do on this too, to give some more texture. Remember when we did salt on our planets, I think? You could add salt to this, and then when it's dry, take your salt or rub it off. Okay, so I got the purples in here because it makes, again, it's making that good shadow. I don't particularly like all this green color. That it's not really green because I didn't really mix in. So I'm going to add some more green that I already had mixed up through this. So this is just a very blurred background. So it's almost like if you were out in this garden and you looked at it and you were squinting, this would be what you would see it look like, okay? So just the evidence. I'm gonna turn it back over so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, that's all part of our, now we wanna fill in all of these spaces between my brush isn't clean, but between the railings. Now, if your paint's still wet on your railing, just be careful so it doesn't bleed all into it. Purples are good for nice deep areas where it's real shaded. You can also go back and add purple in some of your weeping willow, anywhere you want some extra shadows, okay? All right, I'm gonna get this wet. And that one wet. Don't forget yellows in there, because yellows are lighter. They're going to represent your light a little bit. If they don't blend, if you blend them all together, they're going to turn brown. But if you just let them kind of get up next to each other and not practice social distancing, then you'll have some pretty yellows and purples in there together. Kind of let these colors become what you want them to be. You can still do this if you don't have mixing colors, okay? All right, so now I need to go over anywhere you got space of unpainted. It's all garden, okay? It's all garden. There's not really any sky in his painting. Doesn't mean you can't have sky, but he just doesn't have it in his painting. It's a garden. This is going to be pretty. I like this. This is a fun one. I know that probably a lot of people would look on and think, a swan? I don't want to paint a swan. They're missing out. All right. This is fun. I'm going to switch to a bigger brush because I got all this area down here. So everything's painted now. So now we're just going to do, this was all of my trees. Now this is more of the water. So we're going to do the same way. So just think about what colors. It's not necessarily blue because remember, it's full of lilies. So I'm just getting it wet under my bridge.
Do I need to wait to start this?
Yeah, just let me finish up because it's kind of loud. Please, thank you. So anyways, get this. I've got something stuck on here. This wet. I'm going to start up here. I just kind of do a little section at a time. All right, so I already got my bank line, even though he's got more trees. I guess we could add some. This is where like that ultrafine Sharpie, after this is dry, if you wanted more details of plants, you could do that. I don't like the bright blue so much with the yellow. Whoops, I didn't really want straight up black, but let's see what happens when I let it go across here. I just was trying to add a little bit more green on the bank here. I feel like his comes out a little bit farther. Okay, now lots of purple because all of these shadows are in between, and it's just, his is just solid lily pads. But this is where you want it really, really dark, because remember, it doesn't dry as dark as you think. But you can go right over all your plants that you drew. Sorry, I keep hitting that. You can go right over your lilies and your lily pads. You'll still see the pink flowers. Sure saves having to paint around all this stuff. Go right over it. Okay, you can add other shades in there if you want. You can put yellows in there. I guess I need to get my paper wet again. Don't get your swan all wet. Keep water away from your swan. Even though he's, see, I just did. It just went right up and hit his back because you don't want all the swan colors to get out, the black out on there. So if you do, just dab it up. Dab, dab, dab. You can add more yellow in with it if you want to give the look of more lily pads in places because they kind of pick up the green tint to it. Let's see. Forget to get my paper wet. The fun thing will be, so under your swans is this little bit of a shadow. Okay, so they're white. So you might do, let's just try some yellow. So I'm streaking it over that because that white that I have, whoops, I got it on my swan, won't let that stick to it. I'm gonna do some purple too, but I'm gonna keep it light, so I'm not gonna let it get too heavy. Because you still see the water, but you just let that white kind of keep it from covering completely. All right, finish around this. Where are we at? Oh, we're at an hour. Wow, guys. We kind of got having fun on this one. We're almost done though. I guess when it's cold and you don't want to be outside, this is a nice alternative. You guys liking this one? I hope. I'm just quickly getting all the color all in between the things that I drew. Trying to still be mindful to not get too wet around my swan, because then I do want the color to go right up to it. Sometimes you just may have to wait till it dries. You can still, though, reactivate your watercolors if you're not careful. Sometimes you can just kind of go right up to it and then not quite touch it, and that helps. I have a hard time not touching it, though. I'm not always. But anyways, I'm getting this all wet because I do want more color in it. This turned out pretty. What a fun Monet watercolor we did today. Thank you for the idea. Kenzie, right? That told me that. Sorry, I'm like so bad at, I know it's Kenzie. Yeah, you were the one. I wasn't sure if it was JC or Kenzie that told us, Kenzie, that wanted to do a swan. It was a good idea. I'll show you real quick the picture. If Wednesdays you weren't sure what the celestial sun and moon is, I'll show you because I did it for art class. I'll show you what that looks like here in just a minute, because I have one already painted up from a long time ago, and it's fun. And it's fun for little kids. I did it with the 4 and 5 year old preschool class that I did, and they do a fantastic job. So anyways, I'll show that to you just a minute. I just want some more colors in my lily pads here, or my lily pond. I feel like I need some more green. If I use this blue, I'm going to make green because I don't like that blue color for this. I want a dark green. Kind of a dark blue green. I'm using my purple in with the green that I already have. It's making just a darker. Be careful I don't accidentally paint over my swans here. But see, I did those white lines in the reflection, so it still gives that. I'm gonna add, I guess, a couple places of this blue. Make you a sandwich, Dad?
Yeah.
All right, some of this blue through here. Again, you want to get your color right up to the edge of your swan so it doesn't have, but just be careful. All right, so there's that one for today. Let me show you really quick what we're doing on Wednesday. So this is fun. This is what the celestial moon and sun is. So this is what we're going to do on Wednesday. So you'll need a circle. A template just to draw a circle around your paper with. And so lots of bright colors in that. This is a fun one, good one for all ages. So anyways, thanks you guys for joining. I'm sorry we went a little over more than we normally do. And it looks like I lost a few people, but that's okay. They can come back and watch it later. But anyways, I guess we kind of got caught up into doing this picture, which is fun. There's nothing better to do than art. But anyways, there is other things we have to do, but thanks for hanging out, and I will see you. I guess I gotta shut my head was probably in that. Shut it on here. So anyways, we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're doing, I don't remember what we're doing, a giraffe, I think, tomorrow. Anyways, it'll be fun, and I will see you tomorrow.